Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing the Gameweek 16 tier list video where we're going to rank some transfers that you can make for the final game week before that World Cup break where we're going to get unlimited transfers. So this is your opportunity, guys, to go for that high profile, high ceiling players that's going to get you some really nice points before we go into this break. So if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here, but I say let's get on with it. Alright guys, as always, we have got 5 categories: must-buys, great transfers, optionals, bad transfers, and avoids. I'm going to be pretty brutal today because I know I've been too generous, too kind in recent game weeks, so we're going to step it up and we're going to be brutally, as brutal as we possibly can. So yeah, we've got the 20 players on screen right now, guys, who are the 20 most popular transfers in of the game week at time of recording. I know this might change as we go through, and there might be some other players who aren't on this in this video that you might be thinking about considering kind of transferring them in. If there is any other players that you feel are missing from this video, do let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll try and give a little rating to them as well. But we're going to start off with the 20th most popular transfer in so far this game week, and that is my little brother Martinelli. So I'm going to put him straight away in optional. I don't feel like he is the highest ceiling player to bring in this game week. I think he's definitely an option. I think he's definitely a good player to own, a good player to have. Would I be moving to him now in this particular game week? Not necessarily. I'm not 100% convinced by this Wolves fixture. I think it's better for defenders than it is for attackers. I think it's an okay fixture for attackers, don't get me wrong, but can we go for someone a little bit more, you know, with a little bit more explosivity in a fixture that there could be a really high score? Arsenal, we expect them to do well, but how well do we expect them to do? Do we expect them to score 3 or 4 goals in this game? Possibly not, but you would kind of hope for maybe 2. Martinelli could be involved in them, so he's definitely an option for you, for sure. Similar situation with Gabriel Jesus, but Gabriel Jesus is just that little bit more expensive, and I have to say, because he's not kind of performing in terms of those FPL outputs, as well as Martinelli, he's not getting as many goals as we kind of hope for at the moment, is he really? So I feel like he is below Martinelli, more expensive, you know, a little bit more of a risky player, I guess, to go for than Martinelli, because cheaper and, you know, scoring more FPL points right now. Dalot is a really easy one. He's a straight up avoid. I know people probably transferred him in, kind of not realizing about his yellow card situation, not realizing that he's suspended for game week 16 now. Anyone who transferred in Dalot last game week, I do feel sorry for, because it looked like a good fixture for Man United. It looked like a opportunity for, you know, some clean sheets as well as some maybe attacking returns over the next 2. It hasn't worked out. So if you've got Dalot, you're probably going to have to sell him. If you're thinking about getting Dalot in, then please don't, because he cannot play at all. Another kind of a strange one here is Sam Greenwood. So I'm going to put Greenwood, not quite as much of an avoid as Dalot, because at least Greenwood might get some game time, but it's not like super likely that he's going to get a lot of game time. Like, I know people say, oh, you know, he scored a goal last game week in a few minutes that he played. You know, he's only 4.2 million. Maybe he's a good player to go for. I have to be honest, given the fixture for Leeds, they play against Spurs, and the fact that Greenwood, his minutes are going to be limited, and there's no guarantee that he's going to get another goal, really, is there? So look, he's got the ceiling really of 1 point. Like, I don't expect him to get any more than 1 point. So we really kind of spend our transfers going for a player who has a super low ceiling, difficult fixture, pretty much will get 0 or 1 points in 90% of game weeks for a last 1 week punt before the World Cup. Seems like a really, really bad transfer move. So Greenwood, even though he's cheap, just no way, not for me. Darwin I kind of like. His underlying stats continue to be amazing. Perhaps he could do a little bit better in terms of finishing, but he has got some attacking returns this season. We got, you know, he did okay as well in the game against Spurs. I felt like he didn't put up a tragic performance by any stretch of the imagination, and he gets so many opportunities given that the team and the way the team is set up for him. So I think that's a really good thing for Darwin, and he has scored a decent amount of goals this season, despite it being a bit of a turbulent one for him. But for this Southampton game, managerless Southampton as well, I think it's going to be a really good opportunity for some of those Liverpool attackers to really get something out of this game. So Darwin Nunez, I do actually really like for this game week. So I think he could be a really good, kind of a little bit differential transfer for you guys to go for. Now I'm going to put Zaha in the optional category because he is just the most trolly player. And this is the problem with Zaha. When you sell him, he will do well. When you buy him, he will do badly. Like, that just seems to be the way. Now, I somehow managed to keep on to Zaha through everything. I thought, let's just kind of stick with him. And so far, it's gone okay because obviously he did very well last game. Next game week, he's got Nottingham Forest as well, which is a decent fixture on paper, isn't it? So overall, what are we saying about this one? It's a good fixture for him. It's a player who is in... Can you say he's in form? Probably not. It's really difficult. It's such a risky transfer. So I'm not confident putting him any higher than optional. He's got a high ceiling, don't get me wrong. But he's also got a very low base level. You know, he could get a yellow card and it could all go tragically. So I don't really want to commit either way on Zaha. He's an option. But I definitely would not be breaking my team to get him in or anything like that. Saka, I'm going to put in a similar situation in the optional category. I wonder if he's actually a slightly better option than Zaha, to be honest, because he's a little bit more consistent in his returns. He's on penalties as well, and does have that fixture against Wolves, which isn't amazing. So that's why he's optional rather than a great transfer, but still, a player in good form, a team in good form, on penalties. There's a lot of good things to like about Saka on all set pieces pretty much as well. Trippier, I think I'm going to put in low tier optional. Actually, no, I'll get murdered if I put him that low. Let's put him... He does have to go in optional because he is always an option. But I've spoken about this before. There are times to buy Trippier and there are times to not buy Trippier. And that kind of just goes with any defenders. Typically, you don't buy a defender before a difficult fixture. Now, if you're thinking Trippier is going to get another 10-pointer, 11-pointer, 12-pointer in this game against Chelsea, then you're probably mistaken. I say probably, not definitely, because I do feel like there's still a good chance that Newcastle could get something decent out of this game. But it's not like as guaranteed as it has been in some of these previous game weeks. So he's definitely still optional. He's definitely not a bad transfer. He's definitely not an avoid. Even in a game against Chelsea, he's still very, very viable as a transfer in. And I'm hoping most of you guys already have him and will be keeping him. But... would I be buying Trippier this game week? We've got one more game week. We've got to try and find this high-ceiling player who's going to do really well for one game week only. If you're looking for that one game week only player, are you picking a defender against Chelsea? On paper, probably not, but it's an option, right? So I'm going to put Trippier right there. Tony, I guess is optional, but like I'm not really that interested in him, to be honest. Like, it's a game against Man City, which is just not a good fixture. I know Man City do concede the odd goal, don't they? You know what? I'm going to put him in bad transfer. I think we just have to go with the age-old rule is don't buy a player when they're about to play Man City, particularly when it's an away game as well. So even though Tony's going to be coming back, probably going to be hungry for goals, I think he's a bad transfer. I would not be going for him. Harry Kane, I think, is optional, I guess. It's a game against Leeds, so it's a decent fixture. Would he be a great transfer, though? Probably not. I would prefer... The thing is with Kane, and the reason why I'm going to put him actually quite low tier on optional, I think he's better than some of these guys, but I think if you're going to go for a premium player for Game Week 16, you're going to want Erling Haaland, you're going to want De Bruyne, you're going to want Salah. All three of those players you're going to want before you get Harry Kane. You only have a certain amount of budget, and it's pretty much impossible to fit in 4 premium players without destroying the rest of your team. So therefore, since Kane is the least desirable of the premiums, of those 4 premiums, the fourth best premium, I think he can't really go any higher than optional, really, to be honest. So there we go. Going to put him there. Solanke, I'm actually going to put him in bad transfer. I think I'm going to put him in bad transfer. Now, this is one where I think could possibly go well. Now, Solanke is in my team. I'm not going to be selling him, don't get me wrong. Would I be buying Solanke right now, though? And the answer is no, because his form has not been particularly good. He's been playing much, much deeper than he has been previously. So, overall, I just think it's kind of not a great time to have Solanke in your team, really. He's playing deeper and deeper. He's getting less and less opportunities per game. Like, yes, he got a goal last game week, but... he was kind of lucky in a sense. Like he could have got, you know, absolutely nothing from that game and we wouldn't have been surprised. And that's exactly what we saw the previous 2 game weeks, because he was playing so deep. He's not playing as that out-and-out striker anymore, which is kind of disappointing. And I feel like he's just not a player I'd want to bring in right now. So I'm going to put him in bad transfer. Gabriel, I think, is actually a pretty good player to have right now. I think between him and Ben White, I would say both of those Arsenal defenders are good to go for. You know, we've got a Wolves game, which is, you know, you should... We say this every week, but in theory, Wolves are a team where you kind of hope for a clean sheet against, particularly when you're one of the better teams. Arsenal are one of the better teams. I kind of like Gabriel. Would I be willing to pay 5.1 million over the likes of Ben White? Maybe. And maybe that drops him down into optional, to be honest. It's difficult because Gabriel, I feel like he offers the most attacking threat of all of the Arsenal defenders, followed by Ben White, followed by Saliba. So, you know, Gabriel is much more viable, even though he is 5.1 million. It's a little bit more expensive, but actually at least you get those kind of that attacking potential from him. You know, those headed goals from corners, for example, is always aimed at him, so he'll be that guy. De Bruyne, I think, is a great transfer as well. Up against Brentford, it's a really good fixture. Brentford concede a lot of chances, concede a lot of goals. So hopefully we're going to see Man City absolutely decimate Brentford. I know we thought that was going to happen against Fulham, but with the red card early on in the game, that wasn't to happen. And that could have been a cricket score. We expected it to be, but sometimes random things happen in football. Cancelo gets the red card and wasn't to happen. So this following game week, we will go again with Cancelo playing and hopefully not getting a red card this time. And yeah, maybe Man City will have more opportunity to do the business. We'll have Haaland back in that game as well, of course. So all the big boys are going to be available and playing. Man City need to put the pressure on Arsenal. It's going to be hopefully another opportunity to get some real nice FPL scores out of that. Castagna is always an option at this point. I feel like he's not like the most, like, I don't know. Is he the most explosive player you can own? Maybe not. For a one game week punt, would you go for Castagna? I don't know. Maybe not. But I still feel like he's a great transfer. He's got how many clean sheets? 6 in the last 7. Something like ridiculous like that. Leicester have just completely a new team defensively. And Castagna is the most attacking of the defenders as well. So there is those opportunities for attacking returns as well. You're not going to get them very often, don't get me wrong, but you will get them occasionally. And for 4.7 million, that's pretty good going in my opinion. I think that's pretty good. So you never know. Castagna is that kind of player who could pop up with a random 15-pointer in a game week. So if you kind of want to just put yourself in it to win it, maybe. Now Saliba has to. I'm sorry. He's still. If you bought Saliba at 4.5 million, great, keep him absolutely without a shadow of a doubt. But he is more expensive than Gabriel and Ben White and offers less attacking potential. So what's the point in buying him? There's none. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Saliba is probably right now the best centre back in the Premier League. That's probably controversial, but in terms of an FPL asset, like, there's no real benefit for going for him a lot ahead of the likes of Gabriel and Ben White at this point. If you've already got Saliba, amazing, keep him. Do not even think about removing him. But if you're going for a new Arsenal defender for the first time, well, Saliba's probably not the one to go for. Salah I like as well. I think his potential in this game against Southampton is maybe around the same as De Bruyne. Maybe slightly more just because of the penalty factor. Obviously, he's a little bit more expensive than the likes of Darwin. So I'm going to still put Darwin ahead of some of these premiums. I think Salah and De Bruyne will outscore Darwin Nunez, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, Darwin is a little bit cheaper. So I think there's a more opportunity because, you know, we're looking for forwards more than we're looking for midfielders right now. Premiums are harder to switch about. If you're looking for a transfer this game week, then Darwin is probably a player who is probably going to be more beneficial for you to go for him rather than switching up your premiums too much. But Salah and De Bruyne are both great options for this coming game week. I think they'll both score very well, and I think they're both captain options as well. If you don't fancy going for Haaland in game week 16, then Salah and De Bruyne are definitely options as well. But it's going to be a little bit harder to get them into your team. So we're ranking right now. Remember, we're ranking transfers. We're not ranking the players. We're ranking like how good they are as transfers into your team. And I'm going to put Salah between Darwin and De Bruyne, I think. James Maddison, I think, is a bad transfer. I can't cap. I think it's a little bit risky going for a Maddison in a game against West Ham. It's a lot of money for a midfielder. His ceiling is kind of mixed. Like, West Ham still have some really good defensive numbers that we're seeing every single game week. So we don't expect too many goals against them. So what's this game going to be? A 0-0 perhaps? I would probably say something like that. Would it not be? Probably. It's just not an amazing fixture for Maddison. And for any Leicester attacker, really. So it looks like a 0-0 or a 1-0 either way in that game. So therefore, I think we're going to have to put Maddison as a bad transfer. I think the ceiling's pretty low in that game for your Leicester attackers. I feel like I'd much prefer, you know, all of these players you see on the slightly higher on the tier list. I think I prefer all of these guys to a Maddison. So that's where we're going to put him. Trossard, I think, I'm going to put him in a great transfer, actually. I think he's a pretty good player to go for. He's good form, consistent form. Yes, he has kind of trolled us a little bit this season where he's not got the FPL returns in some of the easier games. But the difference between him and, you know, like a Zaha, for example, is Trossard has been putting performances in pretty much every single game. So even when he hasn't got these mega FPL returns in those games where we expect him to, he's still is playing really well. Looks like he's going to get a goal at any moment. He's taking so many shots on. He's creating a little bit for his teammates as well. He's always looking on it. So I think that's the good thing that you can see in his performances. Maybe he's been a bit unlucky not to score as many points as he could have done in the easier games, but he's scoring in the harder games as well. He's in good form. He has good confidence. I think it's a great transfer to go for. Definitely would be one of the foremost midfielders I'd be going for this week. It would probably be between, I know Rashford isn't on this tier list. I'd probably put Rashford slightly above Trossard just because that Fulham game is so nice. Like Fulham, conceded 2 goals to Man City, even though they were playing against 10 men for pretty much the entire game. Like Foden and Haaland had to come off the bench to finish them off. Fair enough, but still, Fulham really are like not a good defense. They really are. The numbers say everything about Fulham. Unfortunately for them, it's just not looking good. Haaland, must buy. He has to be a must-buy, right? Like, if you don't have Haaland right now, and I know a few of you guys may have transferred him out during the benchings and the injury, you've got to get him back. He is going to do some serious damage to anyone who hasn't got him in Game Week 16 against Brentford. Like, it's a home game. It's against one of the weakest defenses in the league. He's going to be back starting games. Have we forgotten, maybe, how destructive he was earlier on in the season? Because he's going to be back to his best doing that. I wouldn't be surprised to see him back with a hat-trick. That's the kind of thing he does right now. He's just an absolute machine, a robot, whatever you want to call him. He's insane. And Almiron is a really tricky one because I just don't particularly like the idea. Like, his form is amazing, by the way, and I'm pretty sure Lionel Messi has somehow... the ghost of Messi has entered Almiron's body because Almiron is playing so well. And I do prefer form over fixtures, which is why I'm going to put him in optional still. A pretty high tier optional as well. But a game against Chelsea, I have no doubt that Newcastle can win in that game. But it's really difficult to say that that's a high ceiling game and a high ceiling player to get. It's just not, is it? Like, who do we honestly think is going to score more? Almiron or Trossard or Rashford or, Darwin maybe, or, some of the, maybe even Zaha could potentially, Zaha's potential to score more than Almiron is definitely there. But Zaha just goes both ways, where Almiron maybe has been a little bit more consistent. But it's just a difficult game, and I don't really like the idea of transferring in Almiron ahead of Chelsea, but it is still an option because of his good form. So he's going to go right at the top of optional. I'm not quite prepared to put Almiron in a great transfer. And I did say at the start of this video, guys, that I was going to try and be a little bit more harsh, a little bit more brutal in this video, which is why you can only see one player in must-buy. I've tried to limit the amount of players I put in great transfer and try and put as many players in the lower tiers as possible because we need to be brutal here and kind of try and separate the good transfers to the bad transfers. And Almiron, he would not make the cut for the top priority transfers for the game week. Fair enough, you can say, oh, I prefer Almiron to Castagna. I understand that, or Gabriel, but because they're in different positions, there I think you have to kind of consider that as well when you're kind of deciding who's the best transfers to go for. Like, Gabriel and Castagna are better for defenders than Almiron is as a midfielder. Similar situation, like I was saying earlier with Darwin. Darwin is probably better as a transfer for his price and his position than a Salah and a De Bruyne. It's not necessarily about who's the best player, it's about who's the best transfer, right? And that's how I'm going to leave this tier list, which I'm sure there'll be a couple of controversies in there, guys. So, yeah, do let me know if you think any of these kind of placements are slightly suspect. I'd be really interested to hear some of your reasonings behind some of that as well. It's always good to get some of your opinions on various things, particularly on Salah, because I know a lot of you guys have been saying pretty much every single game week, Salah is a flop, Salah is in bad form, Salah is a bad player. 2 goals at the weekend. I wonder if you've maybe changed your mind slightly on that one at this point, but then again, maybe you haven't. So I guess we'll find out in the comment section, guys, but that is the tier list for today. Thank you so much for watching this video today, guys. If you did enjoy what you saw, please do leave a like. Massively appreciated and really does help out the channel so much. So, yeah, shout out to you guys who are liking the video every week. Please do subscribe as well if you're new around here. We're going to have loads of content this week, of course, and we're going to try and include some World Cup fantasy content this week as well. And a quick shout out to my second channel, by the way, guys. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. I've uploaded a video on my second channel as well. Not FPL related, but kind of around the World Cup and football kits. I kind of want to do some of content around that. So if you're bored and you want to support a smaller channel that I happen to own, then yeah, please do feel free to go check that one out. But we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for the buy, sell, keep, avoid video, and maybe tonight for a stream as well. We need to do the strategy stream later on today. But yeah, I've waffled on enough. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.